Go live now. There we are. Hello. It is the 5th of July 2025, and today we were going to look at what leads to and what keeps us from contentment, but it seems like the topic that is more pressing is a talk about hope. I'm Rabbi Brian. Welcome to Religion Outside the Box and a different way of looking at religion. I am joined by a good number of friends. Hold on. I'll put my good number of friends on the screen. Hello, good number of friends. And some of them are actual friends, by which I mean Quakers. I want to thank both of you for laughing, and the rest of you. Hi, Missy. Hi, Steve. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Diane. Hi, Carol. And hello to anyone who I did not mention by name. I apologize. Oh, good morning, Ruth. Glad to see you. Glad you're here. Before we get going, I want to start us with a serenity prayer. This is a non-theistic version of a serenity prayer that was brought to us by Dan. Thank you, Dan, for sending this in. I think this might be a good place for us to start. May I develop the serenity to accept that there are unacceptable things I cannot change. I'm going to pause there. May I develop the serenity to accept that there are unacceptable things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I'm going to change it to first person plural and say, may we develop the serenity to accept there are unacceptable things we cannot change. May we develop the courage to change the things we can, and may we develop the wisdom to know the difference.
There's so many versions of that no one knows what exactly. Supposedly the oldest version I've heard was by
Reinhold Niebuhr.
And now my brain doesn't work.
It's all right. You go
Roman
Reinhold Niebuhr.
That's the theistic version, but there's supposedly that comes from a earlier version that the words are the same, but it's phrased different.
It's okay.
And not being a scholar and not checking that out. I think that's a good thing.
It's all right. It's all right. If anyone wants to look into that, and let me say hello also to our friends on Facebook. I have the Facebook chat up so I can see that comments that are made on Facebook, and hopefully I can incorporate them into our discussion today.
I always start
so may we develop the serenity to accept that there are unacceptable things. Today is July the 5th. On July the 3rd, the big, beautiful bill, which is unacceptable.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
Big, ugly bill.
And I don't think we should have serenity. I don't think we should be serene that we cannot change some of these things. But may we have the courage to change the things that we can. And may we know what we can change and what we can't change.
We get a chance to change in 26.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, we're going to get a chance to vote. And then if we can get the Senate to swing a couple of spots and the House to swing a couple of spots, we can undo a lot of this stuff.
Right. It's just a really dark time right now. Really dark time. I want to begin with a little bit of review. Is there something that was said last week's service that you are holding on to? Is there further learning that you did about something that we talked about last week that you'd like to voice up in this community? Is there something from last week you have? Last week we talked about contentment. What keeps us from being content? While you think about that, and I will ask you, hey, maybe try this. Pretend that one of your favorite people is missing today's service. And I'm going to ask you to take notes for them. So that next week, when I say, is there something that happened from last week's service that you'd like to comment on, you already have it written down. I have a follow-up from last week's service. Last week's service, I began with telling a story about my beloved Jane, who was making a crochet project that she did not finish. And the moral of last week's service was, whose problem is it that her unfinished crochet project was aggravating me? And we came up with the answer that it's my problem and not her problem, although I really want her to fix herself so that I'm not going to be frustrated anymore. We all decided that it's really on me, not on her. So I have a follow-up to tell you is that after last week's service, I go upstairs and guess what Jen was working on? She was working on that same very crochet project that we were discussing her not completing during the service. And the punchline to it is she could not finish it because she just couldn't follow the instructions. And she said, Brian, I hate the fact that I need your help to do this. Which
well, that's what it is to be human.
It is human.
And it's okay to be okay, Brian. Record you to yourself.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Aaron. Let me say, last week I forgot to say this. So let me not forget to say it this week. Hey, folks.
It's okay not to be.
Thank you for reading it. Thank you so much, Harold. Anyone else want to read it?
It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
It's
Anyone's having a hard time, it's okay. Go ahead, Betsy.
It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be merely okay, too.
Oh, I like that.
I like that.
It's okay to be merely okay. We don't have to be perfect. Hey, did you hear that? What I just said? You don't have to be perfect. Oh, no, not you. You have to be perfect. I was talking to everyone else. Folks,
is it okay to be fine?
It's okay to be fine. It's fine to be okay.
Closer to fine.
It's okay to be.
It's fine to be not okay, too.
And it's fine to be not okay. We can do the contrapositive. It's not okay to not. Oh, I can't remember how contrapositives work on the fly quick enough. Go ahead, Lori.
I wanted to make a comment about last week's service, and I made this to you, I think, but we were all coming up with things that keep us from contentment. At the end of all of it, you said, really, it's us that keeps us from being content. And that really resonated with me. That is our choice, and that the things that keep us from feeling good are the things that we allow to not let us feel good.
Thank you, Lori. I have to add a word to that. It's a 4-letter word, so please mind yourself.
Some.
Not all.
We control some of our reactions. We can't control all of it. Some.
No.
Thank you so much, Lori. And Lori, you were my next Post-it note to talk about. I had this realization. Next week is going to be celebrating Lori, the intern's graduation official completion of her tenure here at Religion Outside the Box. And we had the discussion weeks ago that the Unitarian Church decreed that I should not allow Lori to come back to services. And I had this, and I think we all have this issue, so that's why I'm bringing it up, is I was in apoplexy about having to bar Lori from coming to services. And I couldn't get my head around it until, boom, it dawned on me. I haven't kicked anyone else out of Religion Outside the Box land. And I have had some requests from some of you to kick some other of you out. And I have ignored those requests. And I have said every time,
Right.
if you don't want that person to be here, you are welcome to not show up. And I thought, I don't listen to the Oregon Board of Rabbis. They don't tell me who should come to my service and who shouldn't come to my service. And I thought, why the fuck am I listening to the Unitarians? They have no power over me. And if they had power over me, they'd have to get it through committee. That was a Unitarian joke.
Quaker joke too.
Quaker joke.
And that
too.
would
Jewish
take a
joke
week.
too.
That would
That would
take
take a
that
while.
would take 3 months. Yeah.
So I wanted to publicly say, Lori, you are welcome here anytime that you want to come. I will not do anything to prohibit you from coming, and I'm slightly embarrassed that I thought I should. So that having been said,
Just give Lori a pseudonym. Give her a pseudonym and a disguise.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah, or a big mustache.
Unitarians don't
No.
have to know that she's here.
no, I want proudly to have Lori here.
Yeah, we don't want to get her into trouble somehow.
That is
What was the
between
reason
Lori
for that?
and her. That is between Lori and her ordaining body. That is not up to me.
Yeah.
Why did they say that?
Oh, because they want to protect the senior minister in case the intern decided to run away with the congregation. If the intern were more beloved than the senior minister, there could be problems. It's Unitarian policy. Again,
So
they have no jurisdiction here. That was.
Michigan.
So as
that?
Rabbi,
Yes,
and
Ruth.
it happened in New York City. The junior rabbi ran away with half the congregation.
I hate to say, if any of you want to run a breakaway group, go for it.
I'll send y'all the Zoom link.
Lori, I know your skills with Zoom. I'm not worried.
I
Oh,
know.
damn.
That's a burn.
Okay.
so Rabbi, you're the senior pastor here. So why don't you send a letter to the Unitarians and tell them you're really not worried? And
because I'm not sending a letter to the Roman Catholics. I'm not sending a letter to the United Church of Canada. I'm not sending letters to anyone, including the Unitarians, because why would I? It has no bearing on what we do. Okay.
None of their business, anyhow.
It is none of their business. That's exactly right. That's what I was getting towards. I want to share something that I learned in the last week. It's a quickie, and then we'll get to meatier topics. I learned new definitions of guilt and shame. Guilt, this is according to my friend Scott, guilt is when I break my moral code. I do something that I feel bad of. I have guilt because I've broken my moral code. Shame is when I've broken your moral code. When you don't like what I've done, that's shame. When I don't like what I've done, that's guilt.
That's not what shame means.
Is that what shame means? That's what this is a new improved definition. Guilt is when I've broken my moral code. Shame is when I've broken yours. Guilt is I don't like what I've done. Shame is you don't like what I've done. Or I don't think you would like what I've done. Or who I am.
That's not what it means. Shame is when you feel like guilt is about what you do and shame is about who you are.
Marilyn, I was adding in a different, yes, you are absolutely right, but I'm adding in another gloss on shame and guilt. Guilt is what you do. Marilyn's definition was, this was the one that I had previously known, was that guilt is that you did something wrong. Shame is that you are wrong. It's good to keep these two separate. All right. Thank you so much for that. Homework for next week. Please come up with it, as it is Lori's official graduation. We are going to have a celebration of Lori. We're also going to be singing happy birthday to special members of Religion Outside the Box whose birthday happened to be next Saturday. So come back for that. Oh no. I totally lost my train of thought. Guilt and shame.
You were talking about homework.
Oh, thank you, Lori. The homework is about Lori, and to be able to have a sentence, at minimum one sentence, of something that you've learned from Lori, either directly from something that she has taught or indirectly from a way that she has acted. So to bring something next week of something about Lori, and Lori is preparing what she has learned from us. And this will be the first ever intern graduation ceremony that we've had. So bear with it, as it will be perfect. Okay. I have two topics. I had the topic of contentment, which I had prepared, but then yesterday I thought, how can I do a topic of contentment today?
Right.
When it feels like the topic that needs to be is about sadness, about the serenity prayer that we've already looked at, and about hope. I'm going to put everyone up on the screen. No, I'm not. I'm going to try to put everyone up on the screen. Look at these people. Look at yourselves. Everyone's heart is broken some. Everyone's mourning. And there's something about doing this as a community. It lets us know we're not alone. We're not alone. We feel a bit powerless, gobsmacked. It was 4th of July yesterday. My God, did I not feel festive. I wore red, white, and blue. I tie-dyed a shirt red, white, and blue. I wore my red shorts. I wore white shoes and a red cap. And Jane came downstairs and she said, "Read the room, Brian."
Is it after Labor Day?
I said, I am. I still want to be patriotic, though. Really hard. I'm looking at this whole group, and it's like we've all experienced a death.
Come to Canada.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rob.
I
take
think
you up
that-
on that.
Hold on. Let's go Carol and then Ruth.
I think there's a step missing.
Help us.
Every one of the mystics and people that we most admire, like John Lewis, lived in times as hard as this.
Correct.
Whether you're looking at Eddie Hillesum or John Lewis. And the point is, we have within ourselves access to the transcendent. We are not the center of the universe, and we can know that, in fact, the world is beautiful. Yes, there are evil people in it. There are many more good people. There is
Amen.
great beauty, and we can focus on letting our own light shine so that no one ever despairs.
Amen.
Wow.
That was
Thank
beautiful.
Thank you,
Thank
Carol.
you, Carol.
That was amazing.
That was something I was thinking myself too, is this is really our time to shine, actually, when you think about it. Instead of relying on government, we got to rely on each other, and we can bring it.
Yeah. I do want to caution that we don't step into spiritual escapism. There's still mourning to be done. And there's hope to be found. And there's love to be given. But there's also some mourning that needs to be done. Ruth, you had wanted to add something in?
I love Carol's words, but I have had a very terrible reaction to what has been perpetrated here. And I need to share it, which is that cutting Medicaid is a form of genocide. It's a way of getting rid of people that these people don't like. And to me, it's horrendous.
It is. Thank you, Ruth. The key here is and. It is awful, and we can have hope. It is we can have hope, and it's awful. And on Facebook, you're getting comments, Carol. And Aviva, I don't quite understand what that means. Carol dropping science. But I think it's a compliment.
Like a mic drop.
Got it. Go ahead, Steve, then George.
Yeah, I don't really have trouble with the 4th of July because I remember those words I used to say in grammar school all the time. And to the republic for which it stands, not to the republic for which it is. And I am an optimist, and I have a vision, and I hope that the vision comes to be. And I will celebrate that imperfect union that we keep working to get closer to.
Steve, I
That
never
we're an act
understood
in
the
progress, not a completed thing.
I never understood the idea for which it stands. It stands for something. That doesn't mean it is that thing. Thank you for that. That gives me a chance to be a little more patriotic. Go ahead, George, then Ron.
Well, the notion that there are a lot of good people, that's fine until you start thinking more than 50% of the electorate elected this asshole. And more than 50% of our legislators voted for the bill. That's the part that really stupefies me. Yeah. And then I ran across a statistic on public broadcasting the other day that so far over 9 million people in Africa alone have died as a result of the end of USAID, and that number continues to climb. That is just, you talk about genocide, that's pretty much the same sort of thing. and that's where my hope starts to dim, and I need help with that.
Thank you, George. Thank you. Let's remember, a majority of the people did not elect him. A majority of the legislators might have. Go ahead, Ron. And then Diana.
Yesterday I was photographing the Waterfront Blues Festival. I'm one of the festival photographers. And most of the bands spent at least a portion of their time on stage talking about how we need to care for each other, that we're in this together. And in talking and in light of George's, or I can't remember who it was, this just said, the flag for what it stands for,
Steve,
is there was this continual reminder of what we should be. And there was a point at which I was almost ready to cry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a tender time. Diana, what do you have to add?
I was struggling with the 4th of July yesterday, too, and the concept of freedom. And I just went back to the fact that this country was born out of rebellion, out of the ability to say no kings. And protest is in our DNA here in this culture. And that is a choice we can make, an action that can be corrective, and is about saying yes to things we cherish instead of just no to kings. And that gave me some resolve in the midst of great grief.
I think that's it. It's that we can have great grief and we can have hope. There's a quote that I've shared before. I went back into our notes. This was Source's Twitter, and this quote says, "People speak of hope as if it is this delicate, ephemeral thing made of whispers and spiders' webs. It's not. Hope has dirt on her face, blood on her knuckles, the grit of cobblestones in her hair, and just spat out a tooth as she rises for another go."
Man.
Yeah, Jeff?
I think we also can use the words of King Solomon. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
We
Amen.
should fucking better hurry up.
Yeah. And let's remember, because I heard some of the chatter, it doesn't happen on our timetable. It just doesn't happen on our timetable, and that's frustrating. I have another quote about hope from Václav Havel. He said, "The kind of hope I often think about, especially in situations that are particularly hopeless, such as prison." He spent years in prison. He's a political dissident. "The kind of hope I often think about, especially in situations that are particularly hopeless, such as prison, I understand above all as a state of mind, not a state of the world. Either we have hope within us or we don't. It's a dimension of the soul. It's not essentially dependent on some particular observation of the world or estimation of the situation." I'm going to say that again. Hope is not essentially dependent on a particular observation of the world or estimate of the situation. Hope is not prognosticism. It is an orientation of the spirit, an orientation of the heart. Hope transcends the world that it is immediately experienced and is anchored somewhere beyond the horizons. Hope in this deep, powerful sense is not the same thing as joy that things are going well or willingness to invest in enterprise that are obviously headed for early success. That's not hope. But rather, hope is an ability to work for something because it is good, not just because it stands the chance to succeed. We have hope because we believe in democracy, hard as it is. Last time we discussed hope, we had these 4 letters, and I will tell you, I didn't remember them. I had to look them up. That hope has 4 parts to it. Hope is always positive. Hope is positive. It's looking towards what could be better, what could be good. Hope is agile. It adapts. It's agile. Hope is grounded in reality. We're not hoping that space aliens are going to come down and save us. Hope is grounded in reality. What can I do now? And hope has action to it. I took a little bit of hope. I spent a little bit of hope the other night. I went out. What night was that? Today's Saturday, so it was Thursday night. Thursday night, I went out with some friends, and we're at a beer hall, and I had a delicious cider. And I did a little bit of this action, and I said at a lull in the conversation, so what are we doing to overthrow the patriarchy? What are we going to do to make this world a better place? And it was just a small action by mentioning it. Did we come up with the exact answers? No, of course not. But it was just by bringing it to the attention. That's a small action, but it's something that we can do. And I think all of us have the power to do small little actions grounded in reality that are agile. They change. The idea is not going to be the same, and stay positive. I spend at 7 o'clock, a lot of you know this, at 7 o'clock most evenings, if I'm around the house at 7 o'clock, my alarm on my watch goes off and I go outside and I play We Shall Overcome on the French horn. And I have been told it can be heard 2.5 blocks away.
Wonderful.
I had been wondering for a long while why was I playing the French horn, and I now know, because it's a soulful instrument, and playing We Shall Overcome, it inspires me. And I've heard from neighbors, they don't come out and clap every night, but I have heard from neighbors how important it is to them as well. And it gives me hope. It gives me hope to know we shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. And the second verse is we walk hand in hand. It's the third verse that gets me every time. The third verse is we are not afraid. Now, of course, I'm playing this on the French horn, so there are no words. But I know every time I get to the third verse that it says we are not afraid. And having faith, or not having faith, being brave. Being brave to not be afraid. I saw, it's Sandra. Sandra's not here. Sandra sent me a list of her. We were talking about quotes, and I sent some of my favorite quotes, and Sandra sent me a Excel spreadsheet of her favorite quotes. And I looked through, and one of them was on the topic of fear. And what caught my eye was the source of the quote was Hallmark movie. And it said about fear, the quote was, honey, I'm sorry that you're afraid, but you might still have to do this thing scared. Yeah, we should be afraid, but we should have hope We should not be afraid. We should have hope. I'd love to hear from some voices we haven't heard from, which is always a big ask, because the people who haven't spoken, they're the ones who didn't want to speak, because if they wanted to speak, they would have already spoken. I get it. But I would love to add some. Aaron, I'll get to you in a moment. I would love to add some other voices in as well. What's giving you hope these days? Looking at this group of people on my screen gives me hope. To know that 41 active participants right now, plus whoever's on. Chad and Letha,
Facebook.
There's videos on my YouTube channel. I don't have it at the ready. But when I send out the two bullet summary, which I usually send out after the service, at the end there's a list of last week's videos, and you can see videos and to look there. Aaron, what you got, buddy?
Just to point out, have you ever heard of the idea of hopium, as hope being negative?
Yeah.
And just want to point out, there's a group now that's calls themselves hopium. I don't think that's what they mean. I think they're trying to claim it back as something else. That gives me hope. Like that gives me hope. So it's not always clear. Sometimes it's contradictory.
Thank you, Aaron.
Just hope is something. We'll go back and forth.
So
that gives me hope.
I heard this from a Buddhist friend, and it's a dark way of looking at hope. It's that looking at the story of Pandora and Pandora's box, that the first time she opens the box, we all are familiar with the story. Pandora's box, yeah. So she opens the box, and out comes pestilence, war, and famine. She closes the box. And the voices inside say again sweetly, let us out, let us out, let us out. And she opens the box, and out comes patriarchy. And I know that because the whole story is about how women brought evil into the world. That's fucked up. So that comes out of the box, and she closes the box so nothing else can come out. And then the third time, and we know this from every joke we've ever been told, that the first two things are the setup and the third one's the punchline. And we all hear the story is that a sweet little voice comes from inside the box and says, let us out, let us out. And she opens the box, and inside there's hope. And we all took this as a lovely message of how hope is always there, despite how hard things are. And I do believe that. And hope can be the worst of all the evils. What else came out of the box was evil. What came out of the box? Evil. What comes out of the box? It's just called hope, but it could be evil because it gives us a sense that things could be other than how they are. That's how my Buddhist friend stole the story of Pandora's box and took it from me. Stomped on it.
Damn it.
Aviva, my friend, what do you have to add?
Hi, Rabbi.
Hi, Aviva.
A couple years ago, you really helped me in a time when I was feeling bitter and just angry at the world. And I think that's kind of coming up for me right now when I hear about hope. It's sort of like, I don't know, there was a story that you shared. I think you actually shared it in this space, so maybe some people remember, about like the bitterness of coffee as a bean. Like if you were to chew on a coffee bean, it's not very tasty. But then there's this like just add water, right? And then we have this like really awesome cup of coffee. So I'm just thinking of that lesson from you, Rabbi, and I don't know if you have little bits of wisdom to share around like what's the just add water right now. I'm searching for that, like, you know, to transform what I feel like is kind of heading toward bitterness.
Yeah.
Breathing.
What is the just add water? I have it some looking
Something
at my
simple.
kids, looking at the next generation, looking at how kind my children and all of their friends are, that gives me a little bounce. Seeing all the people protesting, that gives me a little bit of a bounce. Help me out, people. Love. Seeing it's that Mr. Rogers, look for the helpers. Seeing people help. Oh, I have another one that helps me. And I just did this the other day. Being kind. Being kind to other people and extending a little extra grace. I was going to say it floats my boat. It helps buoy me. I talked with my buddy Larry, my best buddy. He's 87, and I said, Larry, I'm dry. I don't have hope right now. And he reminded me that hope is something that whispers, and you have to be quiet in order to hear it. And he had an old phrase that I liked very much, which was, I would rather, try this on, I would rather have hope and be occasionally wrong than not have hope and always be right. I have hope that something beyond what I can see will happen, and it will happen for the positive. I have hope that that will happen, and I have to have that hope. It's that Langston Hughes quote, hold fast to dreams, for if dreams go, we have to hold on to hope because we drown otherwise. Harold, Connie, what works for you? What do you got?
You remember that poem I sent you a couple of weeks ago?
You're going to have to remind me.
Basically said, when I feel helpless, I help.
Yes.
I think that's worth revisiting because when you get down in the dumps, you grab a shovel. And the first thing you have to do is put the shovel down and see what else is going on. And little acts of kindness go a long ways to helping both sides, your insides and your outsides. And I think that's one of the things that kind of keeps me going. I volunteer at a food pantry one day a week, and it's always a joy to go down there and help. And at least for 4 hours, I feel better about the whole wide world.
Amen.
I think that poem is worth revisiting.
Grab a shovel. I was at DEQ, which is the Oregon Department of Emissions. I had to get my car smog tested, and it's an hour-long line in the queue. And a car, I'm maybe 45 minutes into the line. I can see the part where the machines are where I'm about to get to. And a car pulls up in the shoulder, which you're not supposed to be in, and parks right near my car. And I see the gentleman exit the car and talk to the Honda CR-V in front of me. And then he comes to my car. I roll down the window. And he says, the clerk really messed me up and put me in the wrong lane. And I'm thinking, no, the clerk didn't mess you up. You messed you up. The rest of us figured it out from the clerk's directions perfectly fine. But he pulled up and he said, do you mind if I cut in front of you? The woman in front of you said that and he points to the maroon car. He says, she said she'd been waiting in line long enough. I said, of course. He told me his name is Greg. I said, Greg, go in front of me. Of course, you're welcome to. He said, I have no money to give you. I said, I'm fine. I can wait another 5-10 minutes. And that kindness buoyed me for most of Wednesday. It's what you're saying, Harold, is doing good things. It's a salve. Not only does it fix the world, but it fixes our hearts.
Yeah. One of the things that I find also helps is I contribute to organizations that I think are doing some good. And I always enjoy getting a thank you note for my contribution, even though it's not very big. It always makes me feel better. And I'm like, I don't remember who's just said it, maybe it was George, about USAID causing deaths around the world, with World Central Kitchen could always use some help. And there's other organizations like that I can't fill the void of USAID, but we can do something through other private organizations that can solve some of these problems. And that's part of this action thing about hope. If there's no action, hope goes away pretty quickly.
Thank you, Harold. That's exactly what you're saying. And Aviva, maybe that's the water for the coffee, is the action, is doing the kind thing, doing the right thing, making a contribution, volunteering, doing something, letting Greg get in front of you on the line at the DMV. Maybe it's the action that gives us
That's
a little
the
extra.
brewing.
That's the brewing. Go ahead, Jeff.
There's a favorite quote of mine. Stevenson was describing Eleanor Roosevelt, and he said, "For she would rather light candles than curse the darkness," and her glow had warmed the world. And I've always, happily, that's right in my neighborhood, I see it often. And I think it's a wonderful way of thinking about doing something positive to help.
Amen. Amen. Let's light candles and curse the
There's
darkness.
other ways to light candles. You have to take action. Ben Franklin gave two quotes that I've always appreciated. One is, if we don't hang together, we're all going to hang separately. And the other one is, we have a republic if we can keep it. It is up to us, and it is the actions that we take locally, personally, like you did with the guy at the DMV, and things like that, that help us get through our days and make other people's days better, so that they will pay that forward.
Amen. Amen. It's a rough time, folks. I think another part of the brew, maybe the sugar, maybe it's the cream. I don't know how to make this analogy work. But is the mourning, and allowing ourselves to mourn some, and not ignoring it. And community. I'm just looking at all your faces, knowing that we're not alone. We're not alone. You're not alone. And if you want proof you're not alone, just look right in front of you. I think that's why we come here, to have a community. Especially on these ding-dong electronic things that we're just so isolated all the time doing our own things. It's so lovely to use it for connection. That being said, we have a prayer list. I don't know who's reading our prayer list today. It's Maria.
Oh, I am.
Thank you, Maria.
These are the people to whom we are sending light and love. Dennis and Carol, Alex, people who are without a place to live, Bill and Karen, Maria, Sheridan H., Aru Lane Hill, Ebony, Beth Carney, Horatio Meyer and Dee Dee Ford, Raphael family and Portia, Alex C., Emily, Robert B., Myron McClure, and Evan Saffer Shapiro. If there is another person in our community to whom we can offer light and love, please put their name in the chat and I will add them to the list on Facebook. And for the people who aren't named but who are in our thoughts, we send them light and love as well.
Let's take a minute. I have an idea. What helps the coffee not be so bitter?
Actually, it's the roasting.
Not sure what to do with that.
I think that could be really good because you get the heat and then it goes on, then you can use the water.
I'm going to say
Well, it's the sugar,
withstand the heat.
really. Practically, it's the sugar.
Kindness helps. Volunteering. Donating.
Speaking out.
Community. Speaking out. I have another one, and I want us to try it right now.
Ah, yes. Oh, gratitude. Yeah.
Folks, we haven't done this in months. Go to your messaging program. Go to your email.
No.
Find the person. Either scroll down or pick one recently. I'm going to write, "This is a shitty time." I'm glad you are in it. In my life. Are in my life. This is a shitty time. I'm glad you are in my life. Write something to someone. This is about connection. Knowing that we're not alone. You can copy the message and send it to more than one person.
The heat burns the bitterness out.
Thank you, Meg.
It also depends where the coffee is coming from. Different coffees have different tastes, different aromas. And sometimes, as in all things in life, you have to moderate the heat to the situation.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Meg's talking about.
If we do it too hot, we burn the whole thing. We don't do it at all, it remains bitter. It works.
I think we keep thinking we're the center of the universe. When we realize we're a part of something, we're not what it's all about, that all the beings on this planet, not just people, deserve to live. They all have some level of consciousness, and then we are never alone. And when we start finally recognizing our interconnectedness, we also recognize that that's what's holy. And I think we need to think of the word holy, that this whole world is something we should just bow down and say thank you for.
Amen. Thank you, Carol. Feeling connected to each other, feeling connected to the world, to life itself. If you want to use a deist word, feel free. I'm feeling choked up just sitting in silence with this group. I'm going to suggest we do that. There's still a few moments before we turn off the recording. I'm going to ask us to just look at each other, hold each other. Two weeks ago, we were away, and my family and the Rubin family, and we had a night where everyone had to do something they were uncomfortable doing, and we pulled things out of the bag, and mine was sing. I don't care much for singing. I don't do it particularly well, but I sang the following song, and it's Rabbi Nachman of Bretzlaff, and it translates to, all of the world is a narrow bridge. What is important is not to add more fear. It's often mistranslated as what's important is not to fear, but that's not how the Rebbe said it. He said what's important is not to add more fear. And with your indulgence, I'm going to sing it. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar meod, gesher tsar meod, gesher tsar meod, kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar meod, gesher tsar meod, v'ha'ikar, lo hifached klal, v'ha'ikar, lo hifached klal. All the world's a narrow bridge. All the world's a narrow bridge, my love. All the world's a narrow bridge. All the world's a narrow bridge. What's importance not to add, not to add any more fear, my love. What's important not to add, not to add to the fear. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Brian.
You're all very welcome. Thank you for being here. Let's wave goodbye to our friends on Facebook and on YouTube.